So we're very happy this morning to welcome Chris Matthieu, who is with Octoblu, which is now owned by Citrix. Chris started off a few years ago trying to build Skynet with a sense of irony, and then he found out there was so much interest in it by people who didn't pick up on the irony, they really did want to control the world, that he got pretty excited about it. And it morphed into Octoblu, and I said now is part of Citrix. So Chris is going to talk about actually building an IoT company successfully, not just a business model. He's actually done it. And the other main point is that you don't need millions of dollars or even $1 million. We have the Legos, as people say, the building blocks. We have the tools. We have the toys. You can do it with just a lot of imagination and work. And so let's welcome Chris Matthieu.
Hey, thank you very much, Roger. Don't screw it up. Yes, boss. Hey, everybody. Good morning. How many developers are out there in the audience? Show of hands. That's awesome. How many entrepreneurs are out there, even if you're not a developer? Entrepreneurs. I think there's still about the same amount of hands. As Roger mentioned, my name is Chris Matthieu, as you can tell from my themes of my talk. I'm one of the co-founders of Octoblu. My other co-founder is Geir Ramleth. He's now the Chief Strategy Officer of Citrix. And in December 2014, our IoT startup, Octoblu, was acquired by Citrix. So what is Octoblu? Show of hands, who's heard of Octoblu? That's awesome. That's awesome. So Octoblu, there's some screenshots of it, but it's more than just a web app, a designer, something that makes it easy to connect things, wearables, REST APIs, heck, even drones and Teslas and 3D printed cars and Arduinos and all sorts of cool maker projects. But it's also a platform. It's approximately 80% open source. In fact, that's how it started. It started as an open source project that I'll talk a little bit more about it. But there's a lot of interesting things being built on top of Octoblu, whether it's home automation, industrial IoT, or even enterprise office automation, which is getting really, really interesting. So before Citrix, I'm going to take you back a little bit, explain how all of this started, because I think the story is exciting, and I still look back at it and say, how did we do all of that in a couple of years? So I'm going to take you back even before Octoblu. Who's heard of Bechtel? Bechtel's like one of the largest companies that most people don't know about. It's privately held, $30 billion in revenues. They're, in fact, the world's largest construction company. They built the Hoover Dam 100 years ago. Built the BART system in San Francisco. They're into mining, gold mining, copper mining, into communications, even into military and nuclear power facilities. I was the head of emerging technologies there, under the leadership of my partner, Geir Ramleth, in Octoblu, the CIO of Bechtel. He retired, and I was having these thoughts along the way, like probably about 3 years before joining Bechtel. I was kind of watching IoT before it was really called IoT, and the thing that really still upset me, I think, or irked me, was that everything had a remote, right? How many remotes do you have in the living room? Like 5, dozen? I don't know. Everything had a remote control. Then when you started seeing smart devices come to market, like the Philips Hues and the Belkin Wemos and all these home automation devices, even the Nest, everything has an app. It's almost, in my mind, it's maybe a little bit better than not having a dozen remotes, but now I've got a dozen apps. And I've got to flip through, my iPhone settings to find the right app to do the right control. What I really wanted was the ability to control everything by myself, or maybe have things talk to other things, like Like, why can't my Nest talk to my Philips Hue light bulb and tell it to turn blue when the cooler comes on, or red when the heater comes on, or the oven saying, maybe flashing the lights when the preheat is ready? So I'm sitting on the couch one weekend watching Terminator Salvation. I tell you, I've seen every Terminator movie probably 100 times, and I've always been fascinated with Skynet. Just the whole story, I think, is incredible. There's a lot of artificial intelligence in this movie. And then when you kind of think about Skynet, I wasn't really thinking about it in terms of when I saw this movie. It all kind of clicked. Started thinking about, look at this platform. It's a mesh network, a global mesh network, Skynet. It is powered by machine learning and artificial intelligence. There's all of these robots that are trying to kill humans, right? That are like from drones to Hydrobots to a dozen different series of Terminators. And in this particular movie, I can't remember the actress's name, but she comes on the big screen. She almost represents humanity. And she's trying to communicate, all this artificial intelligence on a supercomputer, communicating to these Terminators what their next plan of action is. And it was like, aha. I just hit the pause button. I said, wait a minute. Not that I want Terminators to come kill us all, but if there could be a platform like Skynet, but for good, that's pretty awesome. I think that would allow things like your Nest thermostat to actually talk to your Philips Hue light bulbs, or different manufacturers talking different protocols. How can we create this platform that's what I called at the time machine-to-machine instant messaging? Why not, right? So I was fascinated by this idea. I almost didn't sleep for 2 weeks. I took 2 weeks vacation. I started hacking right away. Like what does this mean? Like, how would you go out to build a Skynet platform today? I'm a Node.js developer going way back. One of my other startups was Nodester, which was sold to AppVog, a Node.js platform as a service company. So I started hacking, but at the same time, I was searching for a domain. Of course, all the Skynet domains are taken, right? That's like, I think, the first domain that goes every time a TLD gets launched. But then I noticed something interesting. Skynet.im was on the redemption period cycle, meaning that the owner had not renewed it, and the domain, and it's an Isle of Man domain, and so I said, well, wait a minute, it's got about 30 days, let's just watch it. I wrote a quick app that was checking it every minute, of every day, looking for its availability. When it became available, and it did, I sent myself a text message using a Tropo API, and I was super excited. I registered the domain, but it was a sign. Not that I got a Skynet TLD, but the fact that it was IM for machine-to-machine instant messaging, I thought this was a sign. When you're an entrepreneur and you get one of these signs, it's almost impossible to think about anything else. Is that true? I quit. I quit this amazing job, this amazing company. I said, I have to focus on this idea. And at the time, our CIO at Bechtel had retired. So that was kind of interesting. I called him up after I quit. I'm a free agent, right? And I said, hey, what are you doing these days? He said, hey, I'm thinking about becoming an angel investor. I love technology, and I just kind of got tired of the day-to-day, and I wanted to do something new with some cool new technology. So I told him what I was doing, and he said, that's pretty cool. So he helped me with this demo. There's no audio, but I'm controlling these 3 drones with Elite Motion that are all connected to Skynet, an early implementation, and they're listening to my stream of my hand movements above this Elite Motion, and Skynet is sending messages in real time to all 3 drones simultaneously, controlling them to fly or react to my hand movements over a Elite Motion sensor. When he saw that was like, boom, drop the mic. This is like got legs, But he was like, Skynet, what are you doing? We're going to get sued by the movie studios. No one in their right mind will buy something from a company called Skynet. We can't just do that. But he humored me. He was smart to know when to let the evil genius like keep running and when to pull the reins back on him. So I started looking around. There was no IoT meetups in Phoenix, even though Intel's IoT R&D department is based in Phoenix. Microchip's R&D IoT department is based in Phoenix. I thought, that's odd. Phoenix could have all of this potential. That's where I lived. I lived in Phoenix, Arizona. I kept thinking, Phoenix could have all of this potential with all of these big microchip companies if we just got people together and started talking about it. So I started IoT PHX. You see, we're already up to 350 members in the meetup. We meet monthly with no agenda. Everyone brings their cool stuff that they've connected to Skynet at the time, including this. This was like euphoria, right? It's like you call something Skynet, all the developers were super excited. You didn't have to explain what you were building, right? He was like, what are you working on? Building Skynet. Everyone's like, oh, okay, I got it. I know what you're building. It explains itself. So one of the IoT guys at Intel, local community manager, he's a global community manager. He just happens to live in Phoenix also. He started coming to these meetups, IoT Phoenix meetups, and said, I've got this cool spider. This spider, like, it taught itself how to walk. It moves, it dances, it can, like, wave, it can do all these tricks. I said, we need to connect this thing to Skynet. Like, the next meetup, he brought it and asked me for a Skynet sticker. It was connected. And we realized that this idea of cross-protocol communications also had legs, pardon the pun. But what we started doing is we built out a set of first-class protocols that over HTTP, WebSockets, MQTT, and CoAP, and any device connected to Skynet had a UUID, and it could communicate with any other device over any of those other protocols, irregardless of what it was talking versus what the other one was talking. Skynet translated that as you would imagine it would, and can let a CoAP device talk to an MQTT device and vice versa, or all of them. So that was euphoric. That was pretty exciting. So he takes it back to his office, and people are like, "What are you doing? What is this Skynet thing?" And he's like, "It's unbelievable. You got to see it. These developers are building something really amazing. It's really cool." And Intel said, "Well, we've got an Intel IoT gateway. We haven't released it yet. I wonder if these guys could do something cool with it." So at that time, it was called the Moon Island. They brought it over to our office, which we're on the Mill Avenue. It's the College Street where ASU's at. And they brought it over, and like within maybe a couple of weeks, we had written a gateway product that software. This is Node.js, so it can run on Linux, Mac, and Windows. It allows you to connect other non-first-class protocols to the platform, things like AllJoin or BLE or Zigbee or even native Philips Hue light bulbs or native Belkin Wemos without going through those vendors' clouds. Talk to them through our gateway. So it was still called Skynet Gateway. Intel comes back with this device. We've got Skynet loaded on an Intel IoT gateway. In fact, I think that we were the first actual application, IoT application on that product. And it's just because we were local. It's because developers were getting together, word of mouth, talking, experimenting. There's still not a business plan here. As Roger mentioned earlier, we're just having fun. We're building Skynet. We've got a dream. We've got an idea. We've got some passion. And now we're starting to get noticed by Intel. How cool is that? So then things got a little more serious. My partner said, "Okay, you little evil genius." It's time we stop talking about Skynet. It's time we start thinking about business models, thinking about how can we actually build a company now. We've proven that some of these ideas, these little POCs work. We've proven that there's interest from big companies in these ideas. Now, how do we get serious? How do we market it? What do we do? Do we go after industrial? Because that's where we were from Bechtel. That was our world. We knew industrial sensors. We knew Caterpillar large equipment. We also saw that things in the industrial space, sensors may be fairly cheap, but all of the systems to connect to those sensors were proprietary and extremely expensive and extremely siloed. Didn't talk to anything else. We also saw that no one in that market at the time, Caterpillars were coming out with dozens and dozens of sensors, no one using them because they didn't know how to connect them, they didn't want to pay the licensing for them, they didn't even know how they were going to use them at the time. So this was, the name of the company was my partner's idea, and I was against it, as you can imagine. I wanted to keep it called Skynet and wait for the cease and desist. That was what I was after. It's a blue-ringed octopus, only found in Australia. And once I learned about this octopus, I was sold. This octopus is only 6 inches long. It's extremely deadly. It has venom. It's venomous. And in fact, when it's threatened, that's when its rings turn violet blue. When it's not threatened, it's pretty much mostly brown. Its venom is 10,000 times more potent than cyanide. And it has enough venom, and it's just, in my mind, that's deadly. But then I started thinking, that's disruptive. And look how beautiful it is. I was like, it's elegant, it's beautiful, it's simple, and it's disruptive. And that's really what inspired us around the name of Octoblu. And the thing about the Octo was also interesting. I didn't realize this, but they only have one brain like a human, but a human, it time slices. Our brains time slice, work that we're doing. You can only focus on one thing. When you start reading about octopuses, octopi, whatever they're called, they can basically control each leg independently of each other, almost like it's got dedicated CPU to each leg. And I was thinking it couldn't have been a better segue into an actual name of a company. So we started the branding exercises. All the open source started becoming MeshBlue was the new product name of Skynet. So developers, we wanted to make sure formerly Skynet.im so that we kept the developer interest. And still to this day, there's hundreds, I would venture to say even thousands of new products and services that are being built on top of MeshBlue. This is all open source. MIT license, you can put your own logo on it, call it whatever you want. In fact, I was skimming through Kickstarter one day, and I saw a little sensor device from a company called Thingsy. And right underneath it, it says, and we're using the powerful MeshBlue Mesh IoT network to power our sensors as a platform. I was like, that is so cool. They didn't even call us, didn't talk to us. And I thought that was even cooler than if they would have. I was like, that's the spirit of this community. It's open source. It's developers ruling the world with a simple idea. They were building a company and building it on top of our platform without even talking to us. Once we started talking to them, now we've got Thingsy connected to all these things. What they were doing, they took these little sensors and put them on snowmobiles in a racetrack in Finland. And they put MeshBlue running in the raceway. And they were streaming live telemetry data of these snowmobiles, the velocity, the jump out heights, the pole position. And then they had a monitor app for the Jumbotron that had all of the data streaming from every snowmobile in the race. So you could see who's in front, what, all the metrics about that driver's conditions, all running on MeshBlue locally. So, 100 millisecond response time, 50 millisecond response time. It was actually pretty amazing. We became really good friends with that company. So then we love Halloween. I mean, what a better holiday for an IoT company is Halloween. We started buying, we have this thing, we've gone through 2 Halloweens now, and every Halloween we have this hashtag we call Octoween. And we bring all of these animatronic, we connect all of these animatronic devices to Octoblu. So this Grim Reaper, you could tweet hashtag Octoween and say something in your tweet. He actually speaks it in text-to-speech in this really creepy voice. He reads your tweet, and his mouth starts moving like it kind of almost looks like he's talking, and his eyes light up, red. And we brought him to a makerspace, and Fox News heard about what we were doing and came out and did this whole story about this local Octoblu company, IoT startup, doing some cool things for Halloween. And tweets just went through the roof. Like this is on TV. Everyone's trying to make the thing tweet. We put a camera on him so you could see what he was doing as you tweeted. We thought that was just a blast. People building like haunted houses and stuff with Octoblu in their homes and stuff. That's a fun time of year for an IoT company. So what was our marketing strategy? I don't think we've spent a penny on marketing yet. No, on stickers. We bought stickers, which I'll talk about in a minute, but which are vital, and I'm going to talk about why in a minute. But aggressive on Twitter, aggressive in the blogs, aggressive on YouTube. Lots of these little videos like the synchronized drones just to get attention, try to get your point across. Short videos, maybe a minute, 3 tops. Hackathons. We started going to, we ended up growing our team with Gear's assistance up to 12 engineers focused on building what they still think is Skynet. Almost 24/7. They're trying to change the world, so am I, and we see huge opportunities here. So it's become almost like a cult where we really believe in what we're doing and everyone is working on this. We go to hackathons and we help other groups that want to build projects, and we encourage them to use Octoblu, and we help out. We try to get them to win these competitions. And it's okay if we've got 3 groups in the hackathon all using Octoblu, and we've split our team up to where we're partnered with each of the team at their table, helping them hack on their ideas. Because it's a learning experience, it's a community experience, and it's been very successful at word of mouth, helping Octoblu get the word out to developers. Meetups, as I mentioned, the IoT Phoenix meetup was hugely successful for us. I also, for about 5 years now, I also run the Phoenix Node.js meetup, which has got about 600 members associated with it. So we started telling stories about how Node.js could be used in IoT, and then IoT and Node.js. So we started cross-promoting the meetups together and ended up driving up a lot of participation across the meetups. And I think this next one, Co-working Wednesdays, we call it, has been also a very successful effort for us. We have hundreds of developers in Phoenix using Octoblu. That was our home. It is our home. That was our first spot we divided and conquered. Every Wednesday we would go to a different makerspace or co-working space, and the whole team would go there. Every Wednesday. We were not in the office on Wednesdays. And we would bring with us Raspberry Pis, Arduinos, particle boards, Sparks, whatever we had that we wanted to work on. And we'd still get some work done, but we'd spend the time working with the community that would show up on, we'd tweet to say, hey, we're going to be at HeatSync Labs on this Wednesday. We'd see 12 people meet us there because they wanted to hack and learn and build. And I tell you, that maker community, if you've ever been to a makerspace, it's contagious. There's so many cool ideas, people 3D printing things, people using Arduinos. It was just a natural fit for Octoblu, being able to control all of these GPIOs on Arduinos and Raspberry Pis. Well, first of all, this all kind of started as a joke, right? Developers. But he couldn't have been more correct about this statement. The developer community is key. You have to have the developers on board in such a way where I would venture to say that your solutions must be open source or have a lot of open source in them. If you go to github.com/Octoblu, there are hundreds of open source repositories on there. Everything really but our designer and our compute engine is open source. And that's the only part that we're trying to figure out how to make money on. And we've got some ideas I can talk about later. But developer outreach, developer APIs, I can't tell you how many products I see go to market. I've got a Matthieu gesture controller, if you're wondering how I'm controlling these slides. I went too far. It's around my arm. It recognizes hand gestures. But I can't tell you how many IoT devices either don't have an API or worse, for us, don't have any published material how to access its protocols. They're all coming to market, a lot of these, with their own proprietary protocols and no documentation on how to attach to it. We prefer to talk to a device with native protocols first as our immediate, 50 millisecond, 100 millisecond time lapses, real time. versus an API where you got to go through a cloud and back down. We'll use an API to communicate to the device if the protocol is unavailable, but we prefer protocols. And when I say APIs, we built a REST API right out of the gate, and it was, we spent a lot of time making sure it was an understandable API, a usable API. We modeled it off of, things we'd seen, good things we've seen off the Twilio API and other APIs that developers love. We wanted to create an amazing REST API, which I think we have. But not only that, since I mentioned earlier, we support 4 protocols as first-class protocols, CoAP, MQTT, and WebSockets. We did something that I don't think anyone else ever did because we needed it, and I think it's really cool. We implemented that same API across every protocol. So if you're a CoAP device attaching to Octoblu, you have access to the same API a REST client attaches to Octoblu or a WebSocket or MQTT. So I think it's vital. You've got to have developers top of mind. They are who are going to make your product successful by spreading the word or building other things on top of it. Stickers. You can't see my laptop, but I don't think you can see the aluminum on the front. They're like gang tattoos for developers. You have to have stickers. They're cheap. I think you can buy 2,500 stickers like this one at Sticker Mule for $300. That's been our only expense that we've done is we've bought lots of stickers, and everyone's asking for them. And I brought some after this talk if you'd like an Octoblu sticker. So another interesting thing, looks like I'm going to speed this up a little bit. We started playing with Node-RED. Who's heard of IBM Node-RED? Awesome. Awesome drag-and-drop designer. It inspired us. We connected MeshBlue to Node-RED and thought, wow, from this designer, now we can start sending messages into our MeshBlue platform and out of MeshBlue platform that trigger events in this designer. So we started this is also an open source project by IBM out of the UK. We started collaborating with the team there, sending them pull requests to the point where we were sending them so many updates, they started asking us for biweekly roadmap sessions. So we were talking strategies, talking roadmaps, what were we going to work on next. And then we finally reached a point where they told us, stop. We can't keep up with you. Our customers can't keep up with you. You're about a year ahead of where we need to be. We can't accept any more of your pull requests. That was a little devastating at first because we loved the product, we loved the idea, and we felt, well, now we weren't going to slow down our development because of this project. So, and at the same time, we started thinking how vital this product was. If you look between the clouds, so MeshBlue is in the middle. It's what's communicating to all of the things and wearables devices. We started building an Octoblu app on top of MeshBlue that uses all the same MeshBlue APIs that you can use. And then we started connecting channels to it, like Salesforce, Twitter, Instagram, Tesla, Uber, all of these REST APIs into Octoblu. So now we could intermix REST APIs with wearables and smart devices. And then Node-RED, we created a Chrome version of it that didn't require any Node.js on a developer machine to use, or a browser implementation of Node-RED we called Node-Blue. And it was kind of the glue allowing us to do some automation between those platforms, let you automate these things. When we got word that they wouldn't accept our pull requests anymore, I understand. Everyone's got their own roadmaps, their own strategies. They were a big company, are a big company. Uh-oh. Not sure what happened. Can you try that now? See if it feeds. There it is. I think it's my Wi-Fi dropped off. Let me turn it off. Okay, see if that streams you now. So the sad thing about turning off my Wi-Fi was that this flow, now you're not going to see it pulsing, but we're watching tweets that you guys are tweeting about right now about ThingsExpo, hashtag ThingsExpo. And when I was connected to the internet, you probably saw this light changing green, blue, hopefully not any reds. But we were doing sentiment analysis is what this flow does. So this is Octoblu. You drag and drop, you create these automations you want. We were watching Twitter every 10 seconds, slowing with the throttle node, slowing the processing down to evaluate one tweet per second. And doing sentiment analysis, you can see in the middle that kind of little bubble, chat bubble looking thing. And then evaluating it with evaluating the score of the sentiment and turning that light green for good tweets, blue for neutral tweets, and red for bad tweets, as well as the Philips Hue in my Phoenix office. So that was what was happening there. So this is our new designer. We started from scratch. Our whole platform is built on Node.js, I mentioned earlier, Angular on the front end. So we rewrote an entirely new designer since that was such an important part of our mission, and we did it in such a way where it was highly integrated into our app. We also at the time started building lots of connectors. This snapshot was taken about 6 months ago. We've got many, many, many more things connected to Octoblu that you can just start reaching in there and clicking and dragging and doing things with it. Are you looking for your logos? What we've also done, if you can kind of see down there in the middle, third row, an AT&T logo. We were at another hackathon, and someone was trying to use AT&T M2X, and that was a condition of the hackathon, and they were having some trouble. So we connected it to Octoblu. We connected AT&T's IoT platform to Octoblu, so to ease the effort and the automation of what they were trying to do to ultimately win that hackathon. And then we said, wow, that's kind of interesting. What if we start connecting other IoT platforms to Octoblu? And we're talking with a lot of partners about that idea as well. So right around that time, IBM started getting really interested in what we were doing. They invited us to IoT enable this $100,000 rally fighter from Local Motors. This is also an open source car. All the plans are available to download off the internet. It was also in the Transformers 4 movie. It's just an amazing car. It jumps. You know, we've got sensors in this thing streaming. So IBM brought us to the table with this, and also the Linux Foundation and AllJoyn, where we totally put AllJoyn powered, IoT enabled this rally fighter. That was awesome. And then just 3 weeks ago, IBM brought us back to the table to IoT enable the world's first 3D printed car. This is another Local Motors car. It was at IBM Insights 2 weeks ago, and it's at the SEMA car show this week. My small little team said, we got this. That's what we're good at. We're good at connecting things, but we did it in such a way where we used IBM Node-RED and that Mesh Blue node that I showed you earlier to still stream all of this data into IBM Bluemix and allow IBM Bluemix to control the car through Node-RED to Mesh Blue, which ultimately there was an Intel Edison and a Raspberry Pi in the glove box of this car, acting essentially as a rolling mesh network with or without internet, however you wanted to deploy this implementation. So that was pretty exciting. So the acquisition. I love this. I love that this blog post came out. We were in a silent period. We couldn't talk about it. They saw my LinkedIn status change from Octoblu to Citrix. And they couldn't have gotten our what we were doing any more wrong. Citrix acquires Octoblu, the drone networking company formerly known as Skynet. Well, I guess they got the Skynet part right, but we were never a drone networking company, but we did a lot of cool things with drones, so maybe that's where that happened. But that was humorless to say, very humorsome to say the least. So who is Citrix? Citrix is awesome. We couldn't have had a better company to be a part of, to become a welcome part of their family. Citrix has, GoToMeeting. That's where maybe some of you have heard of it. All the Windows virtualization for desktops. NetScaler, which runs about, I'm told, 75% of the internet's traffic flows through NetScaler devices. YouTube, Netflix, you name it. IBM software, all powered by NetScalers. GoToMeeting, that's probably what you guys are most familiar with. ShareFile, which is our cloud storage platform. Podio, Storefront, all of these other things. So through Citrix and through these virtualized windows and Zen Mobile and all these other mobile platforms that Citrix offers, we touch 100 million users. 100 million users around the globe use Citrix in one form or another on a daily basis. So very interesting and great opportunity to be part of Citrix. The CEO on the week of the acquisition flew out to Phoenix to talk to us. He said, I've been thinking, so what does Octoblu mean to Citrix? He said, I've been thinking about this idea of software-defined workplaces for a while. He said, I'm tired of this 5 to 10 minutes of wasted time at the beginning of every meeting. Is there something we could do about that? He started explaining this cool idea that putting an iBeacon in a conference room, you walk into the conference room and it comes to life. It says, hey, does Chris have a meeting in here? Sure enough, I do. Let's go ahead and have the bridge ringing as I walk into the office, so I'm not fumbling anymore trying to dial the conference number. Let's have my presentation Chromecasting onto that back wall display, so I'm no longer fumbling with cables trying to get my video connected. Have the shades automated, have the lights automated, have the thermostat automated. Start the recording of the meeting when the bridge connects, and then upload the recording file to ShareFile, and then send an email to all the participants of the meeting with a link to the recordings for future reference, maybe even do minutes in the future. How cool would that be? Save another hour there doing minutes. And then delay 5 minutes and then set the room back to normal. Turn the lights off, open the shades, whatever. In an hour and a half, we did that. Blew them away. We became part of all the Citrix Summit events, Citrix Synergy events, doing these demonstrations in front of thousands and thousands of people. When you look at this flow, that's exactly what it does. iBeacons, triggering GoToMeeting, turning on light bulbs, adjusting the Nest thermostat. We use Twilio to dial the bridge. We stream the presentation via Chromecast to the wall. Started the recording when the GoToMeeting stopped. Used Twilio to stop the bridge. Upload to ShareFile. Send the email. That little delay timer delayed 5 minutes, and set the room back to normal. All those function nodes at the bottom are there for developers. So all of this is drag and drop, one-click deploy. Within a couple of seconds, you've got the platform running. Anytime you need to extend the platform, we've added function nodes where you can write JavaScript right into the designer or use any of the APIs that we have. But then something interesting happened. And no, it wasn't Singularity or... but at about 2,000 flow automations, the way we were doing it, we're extensively Docker-based, love Docker, extensively microservices-based. Every protocol is a microservice. We can spin up as many as we need. But something interesting happened. At 2,000 flows, we tried both Kubernetes and CoreOS Fleet Manager. Both had the same problem. Love those products. We use them for our entire infrastructure. But they had the same problem where once you have more than 2,000 unique images, the deploy time starts seriously degrading. So we're talking like 20-second deployments when you click the button. That's not conducive anymore for a user, who's building the flow and wanting to test things as they're going. From 5 seconds to 20 seconds is painful. Plus, we were losing some reliability in visually seeing if these flows were running. The containers were pretty quiet. So. We realized early on, part of Citrix was awesome. We're getting a lot more visibility, a lot more cool things happening. But now we've reached another point in the process where, something terribly is happening at scale. We've got hundreds of servers in AWS. That wasn't the issue. It was this finding the right cluster to spin these Docker containers for a user-centric image. So it's like changing the tires while you're driving 100 miles an hour down the road. So started watching Amazon AWS Lambda, thought that's interesting. In the world of IoT, everything is a trigger or an event. very, real time, very short-lived. We said, there's something to this. Not that we wanted to be locked into Amazon, which we implemented our own, I don't want to say an Octoblu Lambda, but it was a very lightweight version, representation of what AWS Lambda does, but specifically for IoT. And we had a lot of whiteboard discussions around what this looks like. And ultimately built it in 2 months, dealing with a lot of pain, with the current platform, supporting 2 platforms, opened it up a beta for people to give us feedback. They said, amazing, like instantaneous response, and you turning lemons into lemonade. Customers on the beta program were extremely satisfied. We started doing compute calculations. Our compute engine costs went from somewhere in the neighborhood of $4 a month to us to run these compute engines, all the way down to varying degrees based. Even some at like a nickel now per month to run some of these platforms, because they're not consuming container resources while you're waiting for an event to happen. So this new approach was pretty amazing. It also allowed us to take that Intel IoT gateway I showed you way back when that could only run 1 or 2 automations on it because of the lack of resources it had, to now running dozens and dozens of automations at the edge of the network. So that's a good example that sometimes really big problems are blessings in disguise. And if you solve them properly, you reposition yourself to even move forward quicker, faster, stronger. We're up to already over 5,600 users globally using Octoblu. We have no visibility into who's doing anything with open source. I just think it's cool, but the platform is growing. Lessons learned. Building a platform is hard. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of war stories I can tell you. But that pales in comparison to selling a platform. I would have argued with you tooth and nail 2 years ago that building a platform that works in every vertical is the right move. I'd have fought you because I believed it. I believed that we could change the world, one platform, machine-to-machine instant messaging. But what I've learned is it's too big of an idea for most companies you walk into and talk to. So what's interesting is good partners equal good business. Citrix has helped us tremendously. 2,000 sales agents in the company, partnerships with every major technology company out there over every vertical. So what they've been able to help us do is introduce Octoblu to the healthcare practice, introduce Octoblu to the education practice, which, by the way, if you're in education and want to learn more about Octoblu, Chris Whittick in the front has got an Octoblu education themed talk at 5 o'clock at this conference. But they started showing us how to position Octoblu for vertical markets that they could paint out use cases that 5 minutes into the conversation with the customer, the aha moment happens. So we don't have time for, maybe we have time for one question, but there's hang on, there's one more slide that somehow it skipped. Hang on. This.
We're not set up good for questions.
Not for questions? Okay.
What we'd like you, if you can go out, right out the door, anyone should mob you there.
Okay, so we're going to pass on the questions. I'll be by the water cooler if you have questions or you want a sticker. I'll be there. But this is the most important slide I want to leave you on. Your developers, your entrepreneurs, you're here at this conference at the right time. IoT is just getting started, and it's got a long runway. And there's a lot of money, as you've heard from all of the talks at this conference, a lot of opportunity. Even 1% or a fraction of a percent of this space is huge. So you're here, think differently, do the impossible, and you can shock everyone. You don't need a business out of the gate. You don't need to borrow the ocean. You're passionate about an idea, start developing on it. You've got Kickstarter at your disposal. You've got GitHub, collaboration around open source. It's easy to find other developers that share your enthusiasm and your idea and want to partner with you to make the world a better place. So do it. Do what you love. And if timing is right, and if your idea is credible, to other people beside yourself, you will also be able to reap the rewards of some interesting, huge opportunities down the road. So I want to say thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed the conference. I have. And I'd love to learn more about what your company is doing with IoT. And I'll be at the water coolers. And enjoy the rest of the conference. And thank you, Roger. Thank you, Things Expo.